All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Thursday, June 26th, right here on your Daily Fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. This is brought to you by Rogue Sports Network, and this is All In Horns. Today's episode, we got an early preseason All-American list. Now, this isn't the AP All-American list. This is from Athlon. Is that how you pronounce that, Jake? The Athlon.
Have you never heard of Athlon Sports? They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like what they officially go based on in terms of like the AP All-American and stuff. So, but this is the preseason All-American Athlon list. And we've got some Texas Longhorns that made first and second team. Jake and I are going to go down this list real quickly. We're going to name off the players. We're going to talk about each player and kind of what the impact we think that they're going to have. And then we're going to have the discussion of who do you think could possibly be on this list for the postseason All-American when the playoffs are all done, season's all over, and we're talking about the All-Americans. Are all these players going to be on that list and then some for Texas? And so we're going to have that discussion for you here today, and then we'll get you out of here. But starting things off on the first team, quarterback Arch Manning, first team preseason All-American. Also, defensive end, Colin Simmons, who is going to be a true sophomore, which is very hard to believe. And then a true junior linebacker, Anthony Hill. Second team, you're going to have tight end, Jack Endries, and safety, Michael Taaffe. All right, so you've got 5 players who have been named to the All-American team, 3 on the first team, 2 on the second team. Jake, is there anybody on this list that's rated too high? Quarterback Arch Manning?
Yeah, I mean, putting Arch in a preseason first team All-American, it seems a little crazy, right?
A little premature, right?
Yeah, you're
now,
putting someone.
Could I see it? Is there a world that we live in where Arch Manning is first team consensus All-American at the end of the year? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. But putting him in the preseason when he hasn't started, but 2 games in his career against 2 not very good teams, that it seems a little bit crazy to do.
And let's be honest, struggled in the first half against one of those teams.
Yeah. And I mean, they got going late against Mississippi State. He had some bad throws against Monroe where he was forcing it. Obviously, though, against Mississippi State, I will say the team around him struggled. He was kind of carrying, and as soon as Sark put the game fully in his hands, he kind of took it over.
I'll be honest with you, it really wasn't him that was the reason why Texas was playing poorly. In fact, he was kind of the only reason why Texas was actually leading that game against Mississippi State. But no, I think it's a bit premature. If he was going to be on this list, I probably would have liked to see him second team. There's probably a Cade Klubnik that would have something to say about
Klubnik's obvious.
Yeah.
First team because he has the I think you have to have a resume to be on a preseason All-American team. The rest of the names make sense. I mean, Endries has great numbers at Cal. With not a great quarterback, not a great system. Steve Sarkisian, we know what he does with tight ends. It makes sense for him to be on this list. Colin Simmons, without a doubt. He is a first team, type All-American preseason type player.
Anthony Hill, probably the best linebacker in college football this
Anthony
year.
Hill, also an obvious one. Nice to see Michael Taaffe getting his respect. So the rest of the names make sense. The Arch Manning one is just I just wish the media was doubting him more because his game is going to be dissected like he plays for the Dallas Cowboys.
A smidge of clickbait there, you think?
Yeah, I mean the media is going to play into it because they know it's going to get people mad, and then it's just going to lead to, Arch could have a game where he throws for 5 touchdowns and 1 pick, and that 1 pick is what's going to be dissected. Again, it's like it's going to be like he's a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and it is that way when you're a Texas Longhorn quarterback. The Longhorns kind of get the same media treatment as the Cowboys, though at least they actually have modern day success. But still, it's going to be
deserve that type of media
Yeah,
treatment
there's
for
something there to it, unlike
right.
Dallas. But
Yeah.
it's gonna be. I mean, if he has a bad game, it's gonna be bad. But luckily, I don't think he's a look at social media type guy.
No, there's a name on this list that you and we haven't really discussed all that often, and mostly because we haven't really seen him play for our team. But that's tight end Jack Endries, and I just think, you can watch as much film as you want at Cal, and you can kind of try to get, but you're not going to get the full picture because he obviously didn't have the quarterback. He obviously didn't have Sark and the offensive mind that is Steve Sarkisian's offense to run. He also didn't have the supporting cast of wide receivers and running backs around him that he's going to have this year. He didn't have the offensive line that he's going to be blocking with this year. And so what do you really think what are your actual expectations, and where do you think at the end of the season Jack Endries is going to be in either the fans' eyes, national media eyes, where he lines up on this team? Like, what do you just think that what's his impact going to be on this team?
I think he's going to have significant impact. I was very high on him as soon as I started watching his film. He was the leading wide receiver at Cal. He was by far their best receiving threat at Cal. I just think he is the exact type of guy that's going to thrive under Sark's system. Now, the only thing is it's kind of a common theme with Texas teams under Sarkisian. There's a lot of mouths to feed. How is his yardage stats going to scream All-American at the end of the year? I'm not sure. Do I think he'll be around 600 to 700 yards easily? Yeah, if he's healthy, yeah, most likely, especially Arch seems to, he matured from the Louisiana Monroe game to the Mississippi State game. He stopped being the home run hitter only in that Monroe game. All the reports from spring were that he has learned to take what is there and when to go for the big shots. And that's where Endries is going to flourish, but he's also a deep threat. And look at what how Gunnar Helm did, under Steve Sarkisian, kind of his progress. And it all come down to how quickly him and Arch can connect. But my expectations are sky high. I think he's a guaranteed starter, and I think he's pretty much a guaranteed stud that's going to end up being drafted in the NFL because of what he does at Texas.
Yeah, no, he was probably going to get drafted even if he stayed at Cal. He was probably going to get drafted regardless.
Drafted higher, I should say, being a top 3 to 4 round pick guy easily.
Yeah. Jake, put this down as a future topic for us to talk about. And I think this could be a fun segment. You mentioned him having 600-700 yards. How about we make an over-under list for wide receivers, running backs, yardage-wise, touchdown-wise, and we can kind of go through the list of skill position guys of what we think maybe statistically they might be
for Arch too.
And for Arch,
yardage, touchdowns. Yeah, we could do a whole week over that. Just do different position groups.
Just different position groups. I think that's a fun topic that we could talk about over the summer, leading up to that Ohio State game, obviously. So, all right, Jake. Let's and obviously you mentioned Michael Taaffe as well. I feel like he has never really gotten his flowers. I think this year he will be nationally recognized as one of the top.
I think he got his flowers at the end of last year.
Like SEC honors and stuff like that, he never really got, all his, flowers. I thought wasn't he left out on some of the first team or second team?
He was like second team All-American, or I'd have to look it up. I can't remember.
Was it Taaffe or was it somebody else who made the All-American list but didn't make all SEC list?
You put me on the spot, and I have to look it up.
I feel like it was somebody like Taaffe or
he was second team All-American. He was second team All-SEC.
Okay.
It was someone else. I can't remember either, but Taaffe, I think, had a pretty good argument to be a first team All-SEC guy.
Yeah.
But Taaffe, I think he did get his flowers from last season because he was one of the top safeties, but now he's going to have the preseason hype, which I do think is going to be interesting to see how he performs, which with his attitude, how he goes about things, I'm really not worried about it, but it is interesting because this is the first season where he's had hype behind him going into it and not being, he was very taken for granted how good he was even before last year.
Yeah.
Last year just kind of put him at the pinnacle of kind of hype now going into this season.
Jake, is before we get into our next topic of names that may or may not be on this list at the postseason All-American list, who's going to be a bigger fan favorite, Michael Taaffe or Arch Manning?
I mean, it's gonna be Arch Manning because of Arch Mania, but also as soon as he throws an interception, there'll be fans that are going, "Oh, I thought he was supposed to be the savior." The fan base is so swingy on quarterbacks.
Yeah, I almost feel like Michael Taaffe could just do almost just about anything as long as it's halfway decent play, and he gets a couple picks here, makes a big play there. He's just always going to be looked at from Texas fans as like your underdog story. People love him. People are always going to root for him. He's not really going to be able to get on people's bad sides, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, unless he just had a catastrophic mistake in a rivalry game or in a championship game.
Yeah,
but
Blake Gideon moment.
Yeah, but even Blake Gideon, I look back and though maybe not everyone else does, but I'm still appreciative of the career he had at Texas as a player. But and I mean I'm appreciative of Quinn Ewers' career more than a lot of people probably are. And I'm emotional during the game, but I'm pretty good about checking my emotions once I've had a little time to recover and getting over it. And I just we'll see. I'm curious to see what X, the Everything app, it all happens on X. It's the Everything app. What it's like on the app when Arch is struggling in a game. I'm going to be very curious to see what that looks like
from our fan base. I already know what the other fan base is.
I don't really care about what the other fan bases do because all they do is lose to Texas and then complain that Texas has an easy schedule when they're on the schedule. I truly just don't. I mean, I hardly ever interact with those fan bases. And then.
Yeah, I am curious about the Texas fan base, though.
I'm curious about the Texas fan base. I really couldn't care less. I mean, you may every now and then I still react to the fan, but I think you would agree. I've gotten a lot better at just ignoring those other fan bases because I realize how pointless once Texas started beating them on the field, and then there's still just this pointless smack talk going on. I realized like it really doesn't matter. They're insignificant.
It's actually a little harder to keep your mouth shut whenever it's your own fan base being stupid. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what more do you want?
I got into it with Texas fans last year fairly often on X, with, it's like, dude, we're 9-1, calm down.
Over under where we hear Treo and chants, not chants in the stadium, but like on Twitter or X, the Everything app. What's the over under on the amount of games that we see?
Could be KJ Lacey chance too.
Could be KJ.
It won't be
Lacey.
Chance. I don't think the stadium will do that, but
not Chance. But I'm talking just.
I think people's blame will go to Sark. I think that if Arch is struggling at all, because Treo isn't the big name, because I don't think there is that name backup this year, I think immediately it'll just go to Sark's had 2 years to develop him, and he's struggling right now. Or so
I'm going to be honest with you, Jake. I'm going to put it at 0.5, and I'm going to take the under.
Of how many quarters? Sorry, what was the over under? What?
The over under on the amount of games. Actually, I'll go.
But especially since they're opening up against Ohio State on the road, the first 3 and out, it's going to be saying Sarkisian didn't figure anything out over the offseason.
Yep.
I think the blame will go to Sarkisian from the fan base. Now, I hopefully won't be one of those fans. I reserve my right to say stupid things during the game, but
I will never be a fan that is going. There have been moments in games, but never full picture of this is Sark's fault as to why we lost this game. There have been moments in a game where I'm like, I don't think I would have gone for it on 4th down there, or I would have liked to be more aggressive. I wouldn't have ran the ball, ran an HB draw on the 50-yard line on 3rd and 10 to make it 4th and 5. I would.
There's always going to be play calls that
Yeah.
you don't like, and not just you, but I just mean in general. All of us won't like. But then I remind myself, if I was calling plays, I wouldn't be there because I would have gotten fired after the first game. So
very, very soon into my coaching tenure. All right, Jake. Let's look at some names that are not on this list that we think could be on this list by season's end.
I mean, if you're going to have Arch Manning first team, you got to have one of the receivers, right? I mean, DeAndre Moore or Ryan Wingo. I feel like both of them are going to have big seasons. And it could be one of those things where, because they both have good seasons, it kind of hurts them getting on some list. But I feel like Wingo and DeAndre Moore are set to have huge seasons.
I think a running back, whichever running back proves to be RB1, I think can easily be second team All-American by the time it's all said and done.
It's just too hard to predict it because we don't know who's going to be, or if it ends up just being whoever has the hot hand each game. I mean, the running back room just has so much to play out. How good is CJ Baxter going to be coming off of injury? Is Gibson going to take over and all of a sudden be the starter like some people expect? Is it going to be Wisner again?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the guy there? To me, the most obvious name that was off this list is DJ Campbell.
Yeah.
Or even Trevor Gooseby. Honestly, he showed enough for me.
Someone on the offensive line will get recognition.
The two offensive linemen that we're sure about going into this year in Trevor, Cole Hudson, I'm pretty sure about, but we haven't seen him play center, and center is a very different role. So you got to see it play out a little bit. But Gooseby and Campbell, I'm as confident in as you can be in two linemen going into the season. Very easily could see both of them end up being on an All-American type list. I mean, I expect Campbell to be an absolute force this next season. He's gotten better each year, and from things we've read and listened to from the spring, it sounds like he's kind of taken that next step into being a top day 1, day 2 type pick in the NFL.
Jake, I also think we could see some guys, maybe even a depending on where he's gonna develop in terms of an outside linebacker or edge rusher. And I don't know why all of a sudden I had the name
Trey Moore.
I think we could see a big jump from Trey. Well, we saw it at the end of the year where he finally started to catch on a little bit. If we can put that on from beginning of the season to the end of the season, I don't see why Trey Moore couldn't find himself on a postseason All-American list. Also, one of the other safeties, whether that be Jelani McDonald or whether that be Derek Williams, someone is going to have a very big role on this defense and play some very, very good football, I have a feeling.
And Malik Muhammad at corner. He's going to be your number one cornerback this next year, unless Gilbo does the Baron thing. But Muhammad kind of gets forgotten about because he had 1 or 2 rough games at the end of the season last year. But he was really good the whole season. Just Jahdae Barron was so dominant that he kind of got overshadowed. Then when he did make a couple mistakes at the end,
it was
those were highlighted more than the good play for the majority of the season. As an offensive lineman, I understand that pain.
He also had, a little bit of an attitude problem, I think. And I don't know if that was just frustration on the play or on the field or whatever, but there were a little bit of talks of maybe transferring towards the end of the year. They obviously retained him and things like that. And so I think he's fully bought in. I don't think there's anything to worry about in that aspect of things.
It's a contract year for him. You don't have to worry about, a player in all reports on Muhammad as far as his work ethic in the building, trying to be a leader, trying to improve, is that he came in with kind of that NFL mindset as far as, and that's a good thing. Not like, oh, I don't want to be here, I want to be in it, but like he takes his diet seriously. He takes, his off the field action seriously, knowing that his goal is to be a star at the next level.
Dare I say a little bit of maturity?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And that's something Sarkisian obviously prioritizes, because the level he did a interview just dropped recently, and I know you probably haven't gotten a chance to listen to it. I need to finish it, but with third and Longhorns, I think is the channel. It's got Rod Babers and a lot of the guys, previous Longhorn players on it. Really fun interview from listening to. But he talks about just when he was talking about their win-loss records from his first year to now. He was also saying the GPAs each of those years and how the team GPA has just gone up, not marginally, by a lot every single year. And that's a sign of maturity as well. And so he, the maturity of the program shows not only with the on the field results and the leadership and the players being drafted in the NFL, but it shows with little things like the team GPA, which kind of gets lost, but how much that has improved over the years.
Yeah. Jake, what about, I'm going to throw a name at you, and Jack Bowmeister, the punter from Utah. You think we might see?
I don't know enough about the punting landscape in college football. Hopefully he has like 0 punts on the season, and he's
maybe
not even on a list.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Michael Dixon, I think, was the last All-American Texas had.
He won MVP of a bowl game. I mean,
that's insane.
That's not something to be proud of, though, as a
go
program.
back. No, we won that game, but it's not something.
That was one of the worst wins I've ever watched.
Oh, man. But pinned him back in about the 10-5 yard line almost every single punt. It was incredible to watch. But anything else on this episode, Jake? Anything else you want to mention before we log off?
I'm just ready for football. It's going to be a long, grueling summer. We got a lot of ideas on the dock to do for. I don't think we're gonna have a hard time coming up with content, but I'm ready for Ohio State.
We are just now into the stretch of the.
I know, and it feels like we've been.
Yeah.
As soon as the Stanley Cup ended, and then especially when Halliburton snapped his Achilles, I was like, crap. I don't have fun. Like we got some golf tournaments, but a lot of the signature events are done. You kind of really, the Open is the next big one. I like watching a little bit of F1, a little bit of NASCAR. Maybe that will kind of get me going on the weekends, but I'm not going to have the team competitive sports.
Now's the time to start binge watching shows that you need to catch up on, and that's how you got to spend your weekends. Is the time that you would have spent.
A lot of good stuff to watch. There's the good news, but I'll be using this time to probably, like you said, watch a lot of shows. I started season 2 of Tires yesterday. I'm already almost done with it.
Oh, it's awesome.
So I'll be getting through my shows. Oh, he'll just laughing. Beth will go downstairs like, were you calling for me? It's like, no, I was just laughing.
The addition of Shane's dad was impeccable. Just very well done from that group of writers there. But fan of Tires. I'm caught up on Stick. That review is yet to be determined. I need to see how this thing ends before I'm 50-50 on it. I thought it was one way, and then it's kind of gone another way, and I'm still deciding on
which show.
Stick.
Yeah, it's a show that feels like it kind of a missed opportunity because it's great at moments, but then there's just scenes or humor that doesn't work or just
some chemistry
directions
stuff
they that just don't work. It's a good. I enjoy watching it, but I expected a little more from it, and I think I thought it was going to be great, and it's just kind of maybe average to good. But we'll see how it closes out. Hopefully,
like I said, it's to be determined. I'm putting a pin in it, and I'll get back.
I'm still excited to watch the next episodes. It's not a bad show. It's just more of like, man, this could have been really great.
I think of the situations that are happening in the show, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know how, not even realistic, because it's not it's not based on a true story or anything, but it's just like, I'm kind of just watching. I'm like, I'm not sure if a person would respond that way to that. I just don't. I think that's Hollywood just trying to make a story into something that it's just not, or maybe it wasn't executed right. Maybe, I don't know. I just need to finish the show first before I put my official stamp of approval or disapproval on it. So, but all right, maybe that'll be our another YouTube channel that we come out with, and we just review movies and shows, and we give it I don't know, the Barstool guys they have buttered, that's certified buttered or something. Don't they have that instead of certified fresh? But we need to think of something if we approve of a show or a movie, and it's a certified something. But we'll get there. We're workshopping it still. All right, let's go ahead, wrap up this episode, and then we will have Friday's episode for you tomorrow. A little bit of fun. We're gonna do top 5 players that you would have liked to see play under Steve Sarkisian's offense. And I think you and we went 2 different directions, and I really like the way you went. But I like the way that there's 2 different ways to kind of go about this. It's potential players that never really got to live up to their hype. And then there were the superstar players that we just would like to see play under a Steve Sarkisian offense. And so there's 2 different avenues you can go kind of down it. Jake and I didn't put any of the same players on it. I wanted to make sure that we didn't put any of the same guys on that list, so we can talk about all 10 different guys that we'd like to see play under Steve Sarkisian. So that's tomorrow's episode. Put a schedule on it. Put your alerts on. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And again, we come out with these episodes each and every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at noon. And as always, ladies and
All in Sports Network. We love sports.